Hello everyone, welcome to another Dragon Plus live stream. I am your host, as always, Bart Carroll. With me we have our very special guest for the week, Matt Chapman, Editor-in-Chief of Dragon Plus, our online app and magazine.
Cool.
So
thank you.
Matt.
Thank you very much.
So a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. I did want to mention that Jeremy Crawford will be back every other week. He came on last week. He'll be back next week talking design and Design Plus. And we've been working through the Artificer. And we've continued to grab your questions. So Jeremy will be returning with us next week. We will be doing 2 raffles as we try to do each and every Dragon Plus live stream. This week as well. The first one, we've given away a D&D shirt and minis, and for the second one, I believe we've got a copy of Art and Arcana that I can move off of my bookshelf and clear up some room. So again, we appreciate everyone taking an hour out of their day, whatever your time zone is, to tune in. And as thanks for our live viewers, which we appreciate, we wanted to make sure we were giving out raffles on the regular. So please do look for that. We're going to break at the half to do a D&D rewind. And at the end, we'll be kicking over to Heroes of the Veil. But that's all coming up. For now, we want to talk with Mr. Chapman, Editor-in-Chief of Dragon Plus, here to talk about the most recent issue, issue 25, came out, as always, for free on iOS, Android, online at dragonmag.com. Maybe go into a little bit about the making of the issue. We had, as always, a pretty jam-packed issue of content. Talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next issue that will be releasing in early June, immediately following our D&D Live, The Descent event in Los Angeles, which, Matt, I believe you'll be attending as well, correct?
I will, yes. Yeah, I'm definitely going to fly into Los Angeles for that. I've been sorting out some details today. I'm looking forward to the press day as well. We get to see stuff ahead of everyone else seeing it. And as I understand it, there's a party for us that night and for the other guests as well. And I may even get to sing some karaoke, which sounds pretty good.
Well, if you're looking forward to karaoke, then I guess that is a good thing. See, I am not a karaoke fanatic, but that's only because I know what my voice sounds normally speaking. So singing, it's that much worse, and I choose not to inflict it upon the world or anyone else.
It's the world's loss, I'm telling you.
I can guarantee that's not true. So what's happening over in the United Kingdom? It's May Day. Is it celebrated in any way there? Is it the Festival of Beltane? There's a reason I know that.
Right. Well, it's actually, we're very lucky we get a bank holiday, but what they do is they give us the Monday off closest to May Day.
Okay.
So we get next Monday off. So we get a 3-day weekend, which is brilliant. But today, I hadn't realized it had become quite such a kind of workers' rights thing. And that seems to be a thing around the world. But we've had similar stuff in London for that today. Which has been, getting very political. I believe I have to say the word Brexit, otherwise no one will ever know that this happened in this time frame. Although maybe in 5 years' time we'll still be saying that. I don't know. Let's not get too political, though.
No, I was there. I was going to mention I was there last month, ostensibly to visit EGX Res, the convention, also to touch base with the Hasbro office there, and of course with the folks at Dialect, yourself included.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was playing nonstop on the television was voting for Brexit or debating about voting for Brexit or. And it was still like, well, I think we've decided to delay the vote, but that seems to be the ongoing conversation.
Yeah. I give thanks every day that I'm a journalist writing about games and cool things like this, because I imagine it's one of the most exciting times to be that kind of journalist, and also one of the most boring times because every day must just see the same. So but we enjoyed having you in the UK as well. You came over, we played some D&D, which was great. Yeah,
I was going to mention that we had a great session. Chris Hislop was Dungeon Master for that, if I've got his name pronounced correctly.
That's right, yeah.
And he is part of the Adventurers Wanted group. I was going to ask if you could, on his behalf, maybe introduce a little bit about who it was we were playing Dungeons and Dragons with.
Yeah, well, this is an amazing group that I've been friends with for the last year now. I actually went to see them live on stage. They do it live on stage every month. And last year, they did it for 6 weeks straight at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is, if people don't know, it's this kind of massive festival where lots of comedians, lots of theatre, everything good you see over the next year comes out of that festival. And they played every day for 6 weeks. Most people were sitting in the audience, but you could buy a ticket and that allowed you to sit on stage and play in the game as well, which was really cool.
Now, were they playing like continuously a campaign? Were they kind of redoing any of the adventures along the way? For 6 weeks, you've got a lot of game material to get through.
Yeah, I think they were. I think it was one continuous campaign.
Okay.
And they were, and people kind of jumped in and dropped out of that. So, but yeah, they're going back. They're not doing quite as long this year, but they will be at the Edinburgh Festival again this year. And they're going to be there for a weekend, so I'm gonna go join them for the weekend and see what that's all about, because It sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. And
am I correct that they incorporate use of British Sign Language as part of the festival?
Yeah, they do. This is something we may look at in Dragon Plus actually, because they employed sign language people to show on stage, if anyone in the audience was was hard of hearing and had that kind of problem, and these sign language people had never kind of translated those kind of things before.
Right.
So suddenly you're trying to explain what a beholder is, or kind of really complex spell kind of things, or all of that kind of stuff. So what was interesting was when they started off, they almost immediately started to create their own kind of shorthand and their own kind of words for what was actually happening on stage in a way that could get it across to people quicker. So they actually started to do that. And there's a group in America who are doing the same thing. They're actually working out now a way of doing sign language that gets across some of the concepts of D&D a bit easier than perhaps if someone doesn't understand it that much. So I'm actually kind of really interested to talk to them to see what the challenges of that are, and to see what's the most difficult thing, what's the most difficult concept you have to try and get across in sign language, and how are you going to do that. So
that'll be interesting. Yeah, I know we've talked about incorporating some of that content into a future issue, and I imagine on one hand you could potentially spell out unique words and names and phrases, but if you're creating new sign language shorthand words, how that comes about and how that gets taught and using it in the shows. I find that quite a nice way to introduce it out there.
Yeah, they were very inclusive as well. So they had they especially bought a set of Braille dice in case anyone came along who needed to use Braille dice as well. So they wanted it to be an experience for everybody, which was really good.
Now, is this your regular Eventide group as well that makes use of some of these players and Dungeon Master, or is that a different group entirely?
No, that's Chris is our Dungeon Master for Eventide.
Okay.
We're a kind of ragtag group of people. We are there's a scene in a great D&D comic, which I won't spoil if anyone hasn't read it, but where effectively one of the characters kind of looks directly out of the page and says, "Are we the bad guys?" And our group is a little bit like that, I have to say. It's kind of sometimes through inaction, sometimes through pushing things the wrong way, sometimes just through being the bad guys. But we're trying to do good, but it doesn't always happen in the way that we think it's going to happen.
You mentioned this in the this issue's welcome letter.
Yeah.
There's a new phrase for the a Faerun minute, as defined by your group, is not always a good thing.
Not always a good thing. So the first time I started thinking about this, we spent around 2 hours of a session planning what we were going to do, because we had a history of things failing badly.
Oh. We froze. We froze. Oh no. Sorry, folks. We've got a slight Skype delay. We'll reconnect with Matt momentarily. I suppose this is the challenges and dangers of Skyping across the continents. But I will mention while we are getting Matt back, I've been noticing in chat sort of discussions about potential content for Dragon Plus. It is a cliffhanger. And suggestions for how to get the content suggestions to us. We'd love to hear suggestions for content and articles in Dragon Plus. The quickest and easiest way that we have at the moment, each and every issue has a reader survey as part of it, and there's fields for your comments and suggestions. So if you would be so kind as to include your article suggestions in the reader survey, that'll reach the D&D and the Dialect team directly and immediately. You can also reach me on Twitter at any time. It's Bart_Carroll, and always happy to hear article suggestions for that. So are we still? Okay.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yes,
sorry.
There we go. Okay.
We had a Skype cliffhanger. So I was just mentioning really quickly in the interim, folks, as we were talking about potential future content for Dragon Plus issues, for folks that would like to suggest or even pitch articles, use the reader survey, contact us on Twitter, and we're happy to consider article suggestions, advice. We love to hear what readers want to read in Dragon Plus, as always. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you that we do genuinely go through that every issue, and it does lead us to cover things that we definitely should be covering, or that leads us in directions we possibly hadn't thought of as well. And a big wave to Dan, who has already come back to me. If you fill in the survey, you get a chance to win a $50 gift card as well. And Dan was this week's winner, and he's already come back to me. I literally just emailed him about half an hour ago. So thank you, Dan.
So in any case, we've got, yes, it was great fun to visit London. Despite my old man complaints about the weather giving me bronchitis, I have now visited Hither Green, site of the notorious train crash of all claims to fame. And we got to eat at the Station Hotel. And I neglected to visit the famous Monmouth coffee. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, Monmouth coffee. It is. Yeah, I was going to specifically meet you at the station.
Yes.
Partly so it was easy to find, to get you there, but also very specifically because then I could buy a Monmouth coffee. So because it's so good.
Anytime I travel out of Seattle, people and like, oh, where are you from? Seattle. The assumption is that I know coffee. That seems to be a take on Seattleites. So I did want to mention as well, in addition to your work, editor-in-chief of Dragon Plus comes out every other month, as always for free. But you're also working in film journalism and other journalistic pursuits. And
yes.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that. I know a couple months back you were over in continental Europe on the set of Mission Impossible and talking to various folks there.
Not Mission Impossible. It was the Terminator, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the new Terminator film. And that was incredible. I got taken out to Budapest. I got put up in what is clearly the city's most insane hotel, like right on the river. My room was enormous. I could have lived in it. And but yeah, we got to meet the cast. I got to meet Sarah Connor, which is a lifelong dream fulfilled right there, I can tell you. That was incredible. I can't tell you too much about it because we're still under embargo. But it looks great. They were dressed really interestingly when we met, the day that we met them, the scene that they were filming. And I was on set. Watching them film a scene, and literally Arnie just kind of came by me to go onto the set to walk into the shot and do that. So that also big moment. That was great. Yeah.
So when you interview folks, you're on set. They're still in costume and makeup, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. They kind of shuffle them at a point that's good for them in between filming. Shuffle them in, shuffle them out. You get to kind of speak to everybody. My top tip is the person you want to speak to is wardrobe. Wardrobe always tell you way more than they should. And also set design. Set design are great for giving away loads of secrets that the producers have specifically told the cast, don't talk about this, don't talk about this, don't talk about this. Set design and wardrobe will just tell you everything about that. So.
I thought a year ago you were there talking to Simon Pegg for the Mission Impossible, or do I have that wrong?
No, I've spoken to Simon Pegg previously for another project, so that's probably where you're getting that.
All right, that's what I remember. But you recommended Mission Impossible.
I did, yeah. My one of the best things I've done recently is I interviewed Martin Sheen and David Tennant for Good Omens. Which is coming up on, I think that's an Amazon show. Yeah. Wow. So that's going to be dropping pretty soon, I think. And it's a adaptation of Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett's book. Mm-hmm. And yeah, interestingly, they're two people I would have thought would have worked together a lot because they're two really well-known British actors. It's actually the first time they've actually properly worked together. So, but they seem to get on like a house on fire. I got them both together, which sometimes can be difficult when you're interviewing because people talk over each other.
Yeah.
But honestly, these two seem like brothers after talking to them. So yeah, so it was a great interview.
Wardrobe and set design; those are the.
Yes, yeah, that's my top tip. Yeah.
They could have told you all about the end of Avengers Endgame in advance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Them and Mark Ruffalo, I guess.
Yeah. I once interviewed a set designer who confirmed that an actor was playing the character because she told me that she'd been fitting him for his costume for a very large DC superhero movie, and at that point it hadn't been announced that he was in the film. So yeah, they do. They sometimes let things slip that they're not expecting.
Well, now we know because you're going to be on set June 16th for press day for D&D Live. So if we see you lurking around set design and wardrobe, we'll know what you're after.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we, it's 1:20 here, but why don't we talk a little bit about the current issue of Dragon Plus issue 25. If folks do have questions regarding Dragon Plus or for Matt in general, please do put it into chat as well. Please preface it with question, and we'll try and grab it there. So just to start with, looking at the lovely, lovely content that went into the issue, we start with perhaps your welcome letter, and we've got a great ID card of yourself. I'm wondering where that might have come from.
Well, this is just me. If people read last month's letter, our art director Chris Imlay just wrote the most fantastic letter. Obviously, we've got Ghost of Saltmarsh coming out, so he was talking about how he was sailing as a kid and how he has Popeye tattoos.
Yes. Which
was brilliant. But it also, in talking to him, it turns out he was in a punk rock band, and he kind of toured with Green Day, and, he doesn't like to talk about it, but it's this amazing thing. So this was me kind of putting my little rock credentials out there just to say, like, I was there as well.
We have it up on screen now, the Highwayman.
This is you had to drive about an hour from where I live to get there, so someone had to be the designated driver. And yeah, it was the only real proper rock club anywhere near where I lived when I was a kid, back in Stoke-on-Trent. So it was our favourite place to go.
I can't imagine a more British-sounding name than Threepwood near Cheadlestaffs.
Exactly. But
not a punk name, but a great British-sounding name.
Yeah. I like the feeling they had to put that on there. Like, just putting like the name of the club wasn't enough. Like, no, I'm going to give you the address as well in case you want to kind of track this down. Right? Yeah.
Just to kind of mention and to go a little bit into the making of the issues, we've been doing this together for years at this point now. We did have sort of a bit of a conversation at the end of last year, like, hey, what content do we want to continue forward? What do we want to experiment with? What are we looking to change around? And I this was selfish for me. On one hand, it was a bit of an ego boost that I could write the welcome letter every issue. Then I thought, maybe it makes more sense to kind of to share it out around. So yes, we had Chris Imlay writing last issue, yourself writing this issue. We'll have to find another victim coming up for the June issue.
Well,
maybe Shauna?
Maybe Shauna. I was thinking, I believe you mentioned that there's another rock royalty in Wizards of the Coast, which is, don't you have someone from Alice in Chains originally?
We did. Nick Pollock formerly was one of our graphic designers, and he was one of the original band members for Alice in Chains. So
Oh, cool.
But sadly, he's moved on.
Yeah, but Shauna has to keep up the rock thing that's going on there. I should point out, the reason I wrote about my rock past is because they can see the Ghosts of Saltmarsh alternative cover in front of you.
Yes.
It's that. The first time I saw that, it just reminded me of the rock albums I used to see when I was into that when I was younger. And there's a reason for that. It's because the artist does incredible posters for bands.
And I think we have an example. Pelham's putting them up now. It was, yes, you spoke with N.C. Winters as part of that. How did that conversation go?
Yeah, he was brilliant. I mean, I was so in awe of his work because I went through a lot of the stuff that he's done previously. And that was his take. He kind of wanted this to be this kind of rock moment. And actually you used to see a lot more. So back on that cover, this is on the actual cover of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, you can see a Swahagan. How do I pronounce that? Sahuagin. Yes, it's like hooligan, isn't it? I remember now. You can see a Sahuagin coming out of the water with a boat, and this cover is what the people in the boat are seeing. And so originally it had more of the sea monster in the background. It had the other boat in the background, and I believe it was Shauna kept saying no, let's push in, and that's what you get. You get this kind of face, kind of glaring at you, coming out of the sea, which is incredible.
Do we have that? We have it from the starting screen. We don't have a picture of the cover, but the starting screen shows the key art from. It's the background cover on the screen now. But so the folks in the boat. What they're looking at is the Sahuagin. So, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. If you go to D&D Beyond, handy dandy D&D Beyond, they do have their pronunciation guide. There's a few names in the D&D universe that are harder than others to pronounce. I think that one has perennially been one of them. As much as the game has informed me in my vocabulary, it's also challenged me in my pronunciation through the years. And then kind of jumping around a bit, one of the other content pieces I know we talked about, including in every issue, was we like looking at the cover, talking to the cover artist, of course. And so for this issue, for Imagining the Ampersand, you spoke with Aviv, or?
Yeah.
Again, talking about pronunciation, I'm going to murder her name now.
I know. Do you know what? I called her Aviv and she didn't correct me, so I'm going to assume that's correct. But yeah, she was also great to chat to. So the Acquisitions Incorporated source book that's coming out for D&D, I think Mike did the cover. Mike Krahulik did the cover for that. But inside are all these incredible characters, which make up the different kind of character classes that you would get within Acquisitions Incorporated. And they're like D&D classes you would understand, but they have this brilliant Acquisitions Incorporated kind of slant to them. And she got to create these 8 characters for that. And we like them so much, we didn't want to kind of ghetto them into one place. So if you go through the issue, and we mention this in a couple of places, you will see that we have dropped them in just so that they appear as you're going through. So you get this nice kind of flavor of them. all the way through the issue.
Yes, we're showing a couple on the screen now. The obviator, certainly from the cover image, which I didn't realize until I looked it up, was an actual word to obviate something.
Yeah.
The occultant, I suppose, is like the accountant, the loremonger. A lot of these are. They remind me of roles on Dragon Plus, because you've got your documancer, your loremonger, the secretarian. There's all sorts of crossovers that make sense for us.
Yeah. And Penny Arcade also released stat blocks for those characters. So if you go to that feature, we've actually linked to those stat blocks. So because that's a great way of just being able to take these characters and kind of drop them into your game as well.
And I will mention that as well. I think it's one of the discussion points we tend to have when we do issue planning together, is we want to use Dragon Plus to sort of cover the brand broadly, to talk to the creators, the designers, the artists, our partners that are creating great things for the brand and for the game as well. Spoil a little bit of products that are coming out, and also find ways where we can add in a bit of crunch as well. So linking to character sheets, creating some new monster stat blocks. And then Best of the DMs Guild, also one of the resources where we look to include something good and meaty, at least every issue. So yes, in the Imagining the Ampersand, you can find links to some of those characters as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a shout out as well to her webcomics. You can go and read Aviv's webcomics. She does up to 4 players, which she does weekly, and there's a graphic novel she's been working on for ages, which the first version of that is out. It's called Singularity 1885 as well. And we have links to those if you want to go and read it, but you can Google that and find it. Yes,
take a look in the issue. I'm scrolling through now, looking at her work in there, and I was laughing because before the podcast I was going to call out the website she used to help generate some background direction for characters, which my company computer won't let me access, because it has a naughty word in the URL. But if folks want to click on the online generator in the article, fair warning ahead for them.
Yes, it is. I have to say, it has a rude word in the title. It has a rude word on the page when you get there as well. But actually, the stuff it comes up with is really good. It gives you these really odd, quirky kind of bits of character detail that you wouldn't get otherwise.
So we're about at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break just to run a D&D Rewind segment. But for folks watching, please do stick around. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. We're going to be, I think the first raffle is up and running. So by the second half of the hour, we'll be getting the second half of the raffle together as well. So yes, so stick around. We're going to run D&D Rewind and be right back with Matt Chapman, Editor-in-Chief of Dragon Plus.
When did Penelope get a griffin? Where did the griffins come from? Why does he have a griffin? He is calling things, and what is it? Mookamoke? Mini Mook? Mini Mochi? What is going on? I feel very lost.
I totally understand. And when we have more time, I'll let you know what's been going on. For the moment, there are 2 issues we need to deal with. I'm not sure which way we should go.
2 issues.
I'm sorry, what?
I think we have more than 2 issues.
Sure, why not? When's that ever stopped us from having more issues? What now?
Good stuff. Oh, perhaps I should have just read what it says on the back cover, which is what this sheet is. See, I thought, okay. The back cover says, this set includes all 4 issues of the Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons & Dragons miniseries, all with exclusive character sheet covers only available in this box set, plus a bonus sketch variant of number 1, perfect for conventions or in-store signings. Oh, that makes sense. That means it's all blank, so you can get it signed in there.
As you approach, he takes the other one in his hand and fires this weird wand into the air and points it at you.
I say...
Do not come any closer. Your monsters will not take this quarry.
Your monsters will not take this quarry. You are the one who has done this today. What?
Quote of the season.
Someone
right
clip
there.
that, please.
So what exactly is this going to mean for existing characters? Characters who have played any of the 1 through 8 seasons or were created in that time. So basically, it's exactly what we just explained, except your season is seasons 1 through 8, the before season. So you can still play any content seasons 1 through 8. Again, your unlocks as usual, same with CCCs, same with season agnostic. You can still play any adventures coming up, get advancement and treasure checkpoints, and most of your rewards, you just don't unlock magic items or story awards.
Warlocks basically, in some ways, can be thought of as very clever rules lawyers who, have made some deal and they got something out of it.
Yeah.
But they might just be working that deal to their own ends.
I picture them as sort of Renaissance artisans, where it's here's a thing I want to make. I have to have a patron that will fuel my vision here.
She is very confused.
Am I confused? Am I confused by the fact that you drugged me and brought me onto your ship and left me in your chambers after I had no idea what was going on? Am I confused by the fact that you kidnapped my children and told me I had no right to consider myself a mother? Am I confused by the fact that you were willing to let us die on your ship when we tried to save them? Am I confused by the fact that you murdered someone in our home? I am not confused. May the light of Lathander shine upon you in your confusion.
All right, we're back. We're back with Matt Chapman, editor-in-chief of Dragon Plus. We've been talking a bit about his journalistic experiences and, of course, work on Dragon Plus, including the latest issue, issue 25, which is available now on iOS, on Android, and as always, online for free, dragonmag.com. Congratulations to our first raffle winner, D.S. Russell, and we'll be opening up the second raffle. Looks like it is underway now. If you do have any questions about Dragon Plus or for Matt, please do put question in your field. I have one coming in here. How do you find the excerpts from Classic Dragon magazine that fits the themes of what you're working on in an issue? This was an issue with nautical content, so how to find articles from the many, many magazine issues in the library. So this is, I think, kind of going back to our discussion about how we wanted to modify Dragon Plus. We used to have sort of a Dragon Classic section. We had a cartoon section. We decided, well, we've run into issues of running out of space where we want to get the content in. So we thought we would make some of these sections, sidebars, where it was appropriate in other feature content. So we've moved Dragon Classics, finding the appropriate excerpts and sidebarring them into the issues as they become available. And that's one of the fun jobs, is going back through past issues of Dragon Magazine. Thankfully, there's a lot of indexing articles that exist online that categorize a lot of these things, but looking through them all, just debating, deciding what is best to repurpose and represent, and then repackaging it as a PDF. I also I find it also somewhat archaically delightful to see some of the old print ads that were embedded within those articles, much less the content as well is still quite readable, quite enjoyable. And it's easy enough for us. The first 250 issues were indexed on CD-ROM back in the day, so those are already available for us in digital form. Some of the later issues, we do have to kind of track those down on a case-by-case basis. But moving on to some of the other content, we were just talking off screen about Samantha Darcy's piece, Pirate's Life. How did that come about?
Samantha's actually writing a book that's about fashion within the kind of fantasy setting. And she's crowdsourcing this at the moment. And she came to us with this idea that this is something that possibly when you're creating your character, how they look, whether that's appropriate for their class or their race or what their field is something that people maybe think of less than the stats and the skills and the spells and the abilities and all of that kind of stuff. And it's something that she wanted to kind of push as like, this should also be at the forefront of people's minds. And so because we have Ghosts of Saltmarsh coming up, we thought it would be amazing to kind of get her to give us her take on kind of pirate attire. Because, you want your pirate to be dressed properly when they're on the ship and when they're on dry land, when they're spending their pieces of 8.
Right. They're not all puffy shirts from.
Not all puffy shirts, and this is the thing. It's she wrote this piece for us, so she explains a lot of the fashion, and a lot of where that came from is the Hollywood version of pirates. And so everyone has this kind of almost kind of singular vision in their mind of what they think a pirate should be dressed like. Whereas actually the practicalities of being on a ship and being on a boat kind of demand other kinds of dress. And actually the puffy shirt came in much later. But the art that you see within this feature is actually her work as well. So she has drawn this for us, these things. And so you can, while she's talking about it, you can actually get a good idea of what your character should be dressed like. But I think my favorite piece of this article is that going on when they went on dry land, it was seen as being only very rich people would be dressed up to the nines, and actually pirates who wanted to show their wealth would also get dressed up to the nines, and they would really show off. And that might be wearing a mismatched hat with mismatched boots with mismatched leggings and a mismatched top. It might be just some way to stand out. It may be that you're dressed incredibly richly. But yeah, this is a really fun article, and I think something that we'll definitely look at again for different classes and different elements of the fantasy world.
I'm chuckling because Pelham is putting artwork up from the article, including a hat on my head, but and I have a good hair day today, so I shouldn't even be wearing hats. But yes, no, Samantha was a delight to correspond with, and yes, I think as we've discussed, we'd be interested in finding other avenues for sort of that character concept style of article where we can go into some of the mechanics of characters, but it's also great to be able to maybe elaborate more on a concept for building out a character in a flavorful, meaningful way, bringing in fashion and attire as part of that discussion, and using more of Samantha's work as part of that.
Yeah.
So again, kind of to reiterate, I believe Samantha Darcy found us, pitched us an article idea. So again, we do have our ears open for article pitches and submissions. So hit us up in the reader survey. Is always a great opportunity to do that. You also spoke with Matthew Lillard as part of Beetle and Grimm, correct?
I did. Yeah, Matthew and I speak a lot, actually, because we're actually in the same fantasy football league.
I was going to ask about that.
do you know what? For the first time this week, I went above him in the table. And I believe there was a point where he was about 100 points ahead of me. So that's pretty good going on my part, I like to think, rather than pretty bad going on his part.
We're going to need to clarify, though. When you say fantasy football,
we mean soccer, fantasy soccer. So I've been over there and watched a lot of Premier League, so there's enough fans over there who.
Oh no, absolutely! It's just fantasy football is certainly a huge activity here. I'm in way too many fantasy American football leagues every year, including the WotC league. But how did Matthew come to take part in the Dialect Fantasy Football League?
Well, I got to talking with him about being in the UK.
Yeah.
And he just told me that when he comes over, he loves to go watch Premier League football. And so it's just turned out something we had in common. I'm a huge soccer fan as well. So I'm dying for him to come back over to the UK. You know, his projects take him all around the world. So I'm really hoping he's going to be over here at some point and we can go and watch football together. That would be great.
Am I incorrect in believing that Liverpool has some big matches coming up as part of this, or is that separate?
They have. So they right now they're playing in the Champions League. Mm-hmm. They're playing Barcelona. I don't actually know what the score is right now, but that's a huge game. So if they beat Barcelona over 2 legs, they get to the final. But also Liverpool has a real chance for the first time since the Premier League started to win the Premier League. The only problem they have is that Manchester City is 2 points ahead of them and keeps winning and winning and winning and winning. So Liverpool is just winning and winning and winning and winning as well. But it's impossible to catch a team if they don't slip up. So there's 2 games left in the league, and we'll see if Man City can slip up.
As complicated as American football rules can be, I think from my perspective, understanding the sort of structure of Premier League soccer is equally confusing. The fact that some teams get relegated right out, depending on their, which I actually love as a concept for sporting leagues.
Yeah. Well, because I follow, I actually follow your football as well. So I go to the London games every year to see the teams that come over. And it is interesting that, you know, a team can lose. It's not the Bears. It's I'm trying to think of the team that only won once this season, yet still the Browns, and yet still plays in the league again next year. Whereas in our version of football, in soccer, you would be right out of that league. You would be down playing some other teams next season.
There's got to be a good D&D mechanic for that, where if your adventuring party has characters that like you've been doing death saves for the last 3 weeks here. We're relegating you out. You're gonna make a new character and elevate them. And
if you fall in the first round of combat, like over 3 sessions, maybe you're like
you're relegated. And I've spoken with Matthew Lillard a couple of times myself. The happiest memory I ever have was when my son, he was about 2.5, and was a huge fan of Mystery Incorporated. It was a Scooby-Doo cartoon that ran for a couple of years here. Matthew was doing the voice of Shaggy, of course. And I told him that, you know, sheepishly, like, oh, I'm a big fan of. And he asked if he could borrow my phone. I was like, yeah, okay. And then he's dinking around finding the voice memo app, and he recorded a message to my son in the voice of Shaggy, just as a way to give it to him. And I thought that was the nicest thing anyone's done. But I'm asking about the Shaggy character sheet we included, if he was a pretty good sport about that.
Oh yeah, you know, he loved it. I mean, I've interviewed him before about Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
And so he just loves that character so much that he couldn't believe that this whole meme had kind of, you know, blown up online. And the very idea that, you know, Shaggy Rogers is this kind of omniplanar kind of being who exists in every reality, you know, and effectively can't be killed. Like, I believe I said, you know, he's like, he can't be killed. And he's like, yeah, but who wants to kill Shaggy? You know, Shaggy's the best. It's kind of,
It's a real mean villain that would want to take out Shaggy Rogers.
But yeah, Matthew loves that character. So he was very supportive of that stat block, which was created by Werewolf Gaming.
and again, kind of going back to some of the focus for Dragon Plus, it's an opportunity that we get to use to talk to a lot of our partners, kind of give them some promotion and coverage for activities, products that they're creating in association with the brand. Beetle and Grimm's Sinister Silver edition of Ghost of Saltmarsh is discussed in this issue with Matthew, of course, as well. And you also had a chance to take sort of a virtual tour of Han Cholo's workshop in Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm actually I'm hoping to go out there when I'm out in LA for the stream, for the Descent, to go and see this place because these that these people are fans of D&D in general because the jewelry they make that's D&D related is incredible. And actually, we talked to them a little bit, and the idol ring that they have is this image that they had from one of the very early books that they saw. And so that's incredible. But their kind of workshop, their kind of this place that they have is just stacked with some of the most amazing kind of geeky toys and just figures and other stuff. It's like a museum in its own right. It really is. So and if there's a game that Satine Phoenix did, which was using the
Temple of Glorb, I believe, that Adam Lee created for the Rick and Morty, one of the Rick and Morty special edition collections of Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. So yes, she ran a game in the Han Cholo studio.
Yeah, so not only is that worth watching anyway, because that's a really fun module. You can actually see some of this stuff in the background as well. You can see some of these things there. So it's it's just a wonderful, wonderful place.
That's a good segue. We played that adventure as well for last year's Extra Life live stream. Adam himself was running us through it. In this issue, you also spoke with another Extra Life donor, Reverend Rory Filstrom. Coincidence that you've interviewed two Dungeons and Dragons playing reverends, or
it's actually the first one was a pastor.
A pastor.
So
sorry.
But because we did have them down in the sheet originally as both as reverend. That's why we keep calling them reverend. They're actually friends. So Rory runs this kind of event for other kind of I guess kind of religious people who play Dungeons and Dragons, and our pastor from last issue, from issue 24, he actually came and played at that event, and so they know each other through that way. But yeah, this was actually quite a powerful thing to write because Rory's son was actually born with a heart problem. And he was actually treated at one of the hospitals, which is helped by the Extra Life fundraising. And so for him, Extra Life has that kind of, special thing where he's happy to fundraise for that, and because it's such a good, charity. And I'm always incredibly impressed by how much is raised by D&D, by Wizards of the Coast in general, by Magic the Gathering and other things as well. So it's always. It's great to see all the stuff that people create for it. It's great to see all the games that go online for it, and all the people playing, and all the people, it's an amazing time to be online on Facebook or on Twitter because everyone's talking about that at the same time. But it's also really nice to think there's this actual genuine cause at the end of it that gets this kind of much needed money. So yeah.
I did want to mention we do have our Dungeons and Dragons Extra Life page renewed from last year. That's up and running. We haven't organized any scheduling or things of that nature down later in the year, but we should. For 2018, some of the donation rewards included, hey, we'd love to talk to you for Dragon Plus on the live stream in the issue, which is where some of these interviews first originated. So yes, super thankful for everyone donating, and for this year we'll look to do something similar where we can put together some donation rewards to call out folks that are participating in various ways. We'll have to do a dialect Extra Life page of some kind where we've got Extra Life rewards involving in Dragon Plus in some capacity. But
oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Because I mean, we are talking to Rory this issue, and also I want to correct. It was a Reverend last issue. Rory is the pastor.
Oh, okay,
it's
sorry.
Pastor Rory Filstrom. So sorry about that.
No, that's my bad because I wrote it down incorrectly and I made the wrong mention.
But yeah, he was incredibly generous. Gave us a big donation. And so as part of that, we spoke to him for the magazine. So, yeah, I hope we can offer lots of kind of interesting kind of things this year. We'll see what we can do there, definitely.
Emi Tanji has been the designer for our Extra Life shirts in years past, along with a lot of other things, including all of our Twitch emotes. I know we're going to be talking with her next issue, and I just saw some of the designs for this year's Extra Life shirts that we're going to be putting together shortly, so that'll be exciting. And she's also had a role in the figurines of Adorable Power, I believe they're called, which I just saw online get a nice reveal as well. So
yeah, it's worth if anyone just wants to know what it takes to call something a figure, you know, give something that kind of name where it suggests. It suggests it's kind of adorable off the charts. You need to go and see these things because seriously, they are absolutely amazing, and they are the very epitome of the word adorable. So yeah, she's done great work there, and yeah, it'll be nice to kind of talk about her other projects as well. Like you say, the emotes that she's done, and she's done plenty of other stuff in the background as well that we want to bring to the fore because it's some amazing work there.
So yeah, so next issue, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I did want to call out a little bit about what will be going on for issue 26. Matt is coming to Los Angeles to do some coverage for D&D Live: The Descent. So obviously we'll be looking to provide some more content and recaps and photos and all sorts of great coverage from that event, talking to folks involved with the storylines that we'll be talking about and revealing then. Emi Tanji is going to be talking about Extra Life and her work as well. We've got as always, it's kind of the challenge is finding what features we can keep in the issue that we have room for. And then there's always more content that we wish we could include, but it's a challenge every week. We meet every week online on the phone to talk through what we're going to be doing with the issue.
Yeah, and I hope people don't think we're kidding there because honestly, there is so much good stuff around D&D that we struggle to make sure we get all the best stuff in, and you know we weep over the stuff that we leave out sometimes as well. So your trip to Los Angeles, when's the last time you've been in the States? Have you been in the LA area in recent years? Yeah, well actually I lived for about 9 months in Los Angeles. So
so quite familiar with it.
I lived in Santa Monica,
down
very, very close to the beach. So about close in UK terms to the beach, about 5 blocks away. So which was incredible. And I was there writing about movies at that point, and absolutely loved it. I'm looking forward to. It's been pretty terrible weather in the UK the last few days, so it'll be nice to be out there doing that. I remember I was there for 9 months. It rained twice while I was there. And the first time I ran out in the streets, kind of waving my arms in the air, kind of like, it's raining. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it being t-shirt weather, kind of nonstop.
And speaking of the event, we've got games and also the concert on Sunday. John Darnielle, the Mountain Goats, will be there Sunday night. You spoke with John this issue in the magazine as well. He's got In League with Dragons. The album that recently came out. How was that conversation?
Yeah, he's brilliant. He is a huge fan of really old school D&D art, And so he wanted the cover of their album to look kind of exactly like a very old school D&D drawing. And it really does. It like really kind of brings me back to some of the first stuff that I saw when I was getting into D&D. But yeah, he was great. He's such a fan. He was kind of working on a rock opera kind of thing, or a kind of rock musical. Mm-hmm. And it ended up becoming this album about it's about Dungeons and Dragons. It's about aging wizards in every form, kind of losing their powers and needing help. It's incredible. If you want to hear a lot of the songs that are out there, the Mountain Goats has a really good YouTube channel, and some of the stuff that's been released as singles you can actually go and play on there now. So you can go and hear some of this album right now.
Yes, and speaking of kind of old school art, we didn't even touch upon Stranger Things. Chris Hislop crafted that article along with Ben Petrosor here on the D&D stand, and spoke with artist Russ Nicholson, sort of an old school D&D artist from back in the day.
Yeah. Actually, well, I wrote the little bit about Russ.
Oh,
so,
sorry.
So I ended up speaking to him, but it was very funny because we talked forever about everything, because obviously his work dates back to some of the earliest D&D iconic kind of stuff that you could see, and he said to me, kind of as we were getting close to the end, he said, "You're going to write like 250 words about this, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of how it's going to be. You're going to be this little," because I did tell him that at the start, but he was amazing. So I would actually love. When we talk about things going forward.
Yes.
I'd love to speak to him again and kind of more fully and talk him through some of these. If you think back to some of the things you've seen over the years, he will have done an image that you love. Mm-hmm. So it would be great to get him to kind of pick apart some of these images and what he was thinking when he did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're getting close to Heroes of the Veil coming on at 2 p.m. Pacific, so I didn't want to overlap with them. So I will sort of just reiterate for all of the content pieces that we've been talking about today. You can find them now. Dragon Plus issue 25 is available for free as always. Please do take a look. Please do give us your feedback in the reader survey. It is all read. It is all appreciated. It helps us direct where we want to take the issues moving forward for your best readership. And again, to reiterate, content suggestions, please do send it our way. One came in chat as well for the Dragon Magazine had the monster ecologies articles from back in the day. So yes, that could very well make an interesting article to take one of the monsters that maybe hasn't had full coverage in one of the recent source books and expounding on something along those lines. So if you have a nomination for a monster that you'd like to see in a monster ecology, send it our way as well. In any case, Matt, we'll be talking soon because we have our Dragon Plus call tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
At about 10 hours from now, talking through issue 26. But I appreciate you staying up late on the UK time to Skype in and chat with us today on the live stream as well.
Yeah, no, anytime. It's always a pleasure.
All right, folks, as always, we greatly appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to join us on the Dragon Plus live stream. Thank you to our viewers, to our followers and subscribers. Thank you, of course, to our moderators as well. Please do stick around for Heroes of the Veil. And, of course, for more information on D&D Live 2019, The Descent, just head over to the D&D website and we'll find all the information that you'll need there, with more to come in very, very coming days. We'll be getting some schedules and other information up pretty shortly here. All right, so thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone next week with Mr. Jeremy Crawford. But for now, goodbye, and good day to Mr. Matt Chapman as well.
Good day.